What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. So, in a recent interview, NBA legend Shaquille O'Neal lit a fire under the NBA's reigning Rookie of the Year, Victor Wembanyama, as he ranked the NBA's best players from the bottom up. Shaq put Victor Wembanyama at number 31 for a very particular reason, saying, quote, I'm going to go with Victor Wembanyama at 31. Same thing my father told me. You're good, but you're not good enough. So he was really good. Really, really good. But when your team don't make the playoffs, when you're that guy and all the pressure is on you, it don't matter who you got out there with you, you have to win. So with the addition of CP3 and they made a couple of more moves, they definitely should be pretty good. But right now, he's at 31. Look, man. Yeah, they made some moves, a few. From what I've seen, the major moves they made, excuse me, were the addition of CP3 and the addition of Harrison Barnes. Now, some of these other younger guys, I don't really know some of these dudes, these younger guys, but that seemed to be the major roster adjustments, the real major roster additions. Harrison Barnes in his prime was a really good player. I still think he's the worst Olympian I've ever seen that we've ever had, as far as a professional player is concerned. He's on the decline. Chris Paul is seriously on the decline, but I mean, maybe he can get you something. He's still the elite passer. His health is now a question. He can't score like he once did. He wasn't really much of an addition with the Warriors, and now he's a year older. So for Shaq to sit there and say that this team should be pretty good when that's bull, okay? That's bull. I should have put a cap on his head, but I didn't. But look, the Western Conference, you got the Denver Nuggets, right? You got the Dallas Mavericks. Let's just name the teams that are probably going to be better than them. The Denver Nuggets, the Dallas Mavericks, hell, the Houston Rockets, the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Sacramento Kings. That's 5, right? Who am I forgetting? Hell, as much as I don't like the Lakers are going to be better than them. Because the Lakers are still probably going to win something around 40 games, I'm thinking. Right? So that's 6. Who am I forgetting? The Thunder. That's 7. The Grizzlies are probably going to make a nice little comeback with John Morant. That's 8. So that's at least 18. Well, then the Pelicans, depending upon how that Brandon Ingram situation runs. But the Pelicans are probably better. So that's 9. So that's at least 9 teams that's going to be better than them. Possibly the Jazz. Probably the Jazz, actually. The Clippers still might be better than them. So, I mean, I don't really see much of a progression. This team won 22 games last year. I think they'll be lucky to win 30, 35, maybe. I give them 35. That's going to be their ceiling, right? Shaq has this history, man. Now, if this was just a one-off, fine. But Shaq has this history now of constantly hating on any subsequent big man since he played or since he's been out of his prime that appears to be the next big thing. So he has a history of this. He did this with Dwight Howard, right? And still takes shots at the guy. Okay? Anybody. He does this with all these guys. He's doing it with Victor Wembanyama. Remember a couple of, what was it, 2 years ago when Victor was still playing in France? I'm not sold on this guy. I don't know if he's only going to be a great pro or something like that. And you criticize him for not having a jump shot, shooting too many threes. And these are, I mean, look, I get it. Some of these things are critiques that are necessary. But he has a history of being extremely critical on big men have come after him that are, whether they are getting to him undeserved praise or getting paid too much, like Rudy Gobert. I don't know what to say, man. It comes off as hating to me. Now, look, Shaq quite possibly had more help than any other superstar in NBA history. Even in his rookie year when the Magic went 41-41, even in that year, he played with Nick Anderson, right? Now, people forget Nick Anderson used to be a dog. Nick Anderson averaged, his rookie year, almost 20 points per game. He played with Scott Skiles, who still has the single game assist record. He played with Dennis Scott, who averaged 16 points a game that year. They were a pretty decent team. They had Terry Catlish coming off the. He didn't play too many games that year. Bison Dele was on that roster. Okay, the very next year he got Penny Hardaway, and then the year after that they got Horace Grant. You had a squad. You know what I'm saying? Then when you went to LA in '98, you had 4 All-Stars on the roster. You got to play with Kobe. You got to play with Nick Van Exel. Eddie Jones when he was an All-Star level player. One year you played with J.R. Ryder. One year you played with John Spider Sally, Glenn Rice, Rick Fox, Robert Ory, right? Coached by Phil Jackson. Then he went to Miami, where for a stretch he was coached by Pat Riley. Those are arguably two top of 3 greatest coaches of all time. You got to play with Dwayne Wade in his prime. You play with Alonzo Mourning. You play with Jason Williams. You play with Gary Payton. You play with Karl Malone. You play with Antoine Walker. Then you play with the Boston Big Three at one stretch, plus Rondo. You play with Steve Nash. You play with LeBron James. So to sit there and say that he should still be pretty good in a stacked Western Conference like that, like he should take his team to playoffs, he should play well. He should have an even better sophomore year, barring injury. His improvement as a player should elevate the Spurs a little bit more. They should win some games off his back. But to expect him to do some great things with that roster, come on, man, that's being unfair. You're setting them up for, basically what you're doing is you're setting them up for future criticism for you or from you. I don't know, I think it's almost like Shaq feels like, well, I got all this criticism. They need to get the same type. But don't you call yourself the most dominant? According to you, you're the most dominant center of all time. So you shouldn't expect these guys who are not as dominant as you are to do what you did. To be honest with you, I've said this before, man, because well, it is what it is. I never saw. I mean, I thought Shaq was the most dominant player I ever saw, but to say he was more dominant than Will Chamberlain is like saying, uh, it's kind of like saying to me, it's like saying Ice Cube is a better actor than Denzel Washington, man. I mean, the comparison to me is not even close. It's not even close. To me, it's not even close, man. Shaq never led a league in rebounding. He never led a league in block shots. He never had a 50-point game in the playoffs. He only had three 50-point games in the regular season. Will Chamberlain had 122, 118 in the regular season, four in the postseason. Um, I just don't see it, man. I don't see it. Revisionist historians like to put out that old Shaq dominated all the competition, but let's be fair, he only started winning when Elijah Wan got old, Patrick Ewing got old, David Robinson got past his prime. You know what I'm saying? When all these dudes were past the scene, he was beating up on. You know what I'm saying? The Kevin Mutombo, who was a little bit past his peak, outweighing him by over 100 pounds, being able to offensive foul him and basically lower his shoulder and drive him to the ground, uh, playing football down the paint. Then dominated Rick Smits, who was on his last legs with bad feet, and then Todd McCullough and Aaron Williams. I mean, I don't know, man. But yeah, Victor Wembanyama is going to have a great year, in my opinion, man. And I think it's unfair to expect him to take the Spurs to a significant playoff run. Maybe if things go just right, maybe they can qualify for the play-in. Maybe. And that's going to be tough. Certain things are going to have to happen. All the stars are going to have to align for that to happen. But yeah, to simply expect him to make a deep playoff run with that team, no, you got to have a star. You got to have another star to win. And Shaq knows that. Remember, Shaq was the main dude that was defending LeBron when Charles Barkley said, "Man, don't this guy want to compete?" And then he said, "Well, you need stars to win. You got to get superstars to win. You got to have time to win." But now you want Victor Wembanyama to do the impossible with a 40-year-old damn near Chris Paul and old Harrison Barnes. Come on, man. That's bullshit. But anyway, that's all I got to say about it.